Hannah. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about weddings, specifically the favorite things that I took away from my own wedding and the wedding regrets that I had as well. So I'm going to start off, I think, with regrets. That way we can end on a positive note, because I got married 3.5 years ago, so I think I have a pretty good perspective on the day now after it being a few years separated. I think when you're immediately following the day, you're just so happy and joyful. At least that's how I experienced it. I was so happy, so joyful. I thought that there were no flaws whatsoever in the day. Nothing could be improved. It couldn't have been better. Of course, after reflection and coming down off the high, you think, oh, I didn't think about this, or I could have done this better. And so I wanted to create kind of a resource for anyone who is wedding planning right now and is putting their own thing together, to hear some of the things that I absolutely loved about what I did and some of the things that I would do over if given the chance. Okay, regret number one is not having a wedding planner. And I was back and forth on getting a wedding planner in the beginning stages, but our budget wasn't super huge, so a wedding planner kind of seemed like too much to ask. I just figured I could do most of it. My mom was willing to help out, but what I've really realized is that moms get stuck with so much responsibility and they end up doing way more than they should. On the wedding day itself, they want to enjoy the day too. They just want to be mom of the bride. That is their job. That's their responsibility. Someone is going to end up doing those things. Either it's going to be you, it's going to be your mom, it's going to be a relative, it's going to be your maid of honor, which is a lot of responsibility for her as well. And so if I could do it over again, I would have a wedding planner. On the day of, I did have a day of coordinator. That was an add-on that we could do with our venue. So we could do an add-on of a day of coordinator, which we did opt for, which was helpful, but I think I would have really benefited just from having a wedding planner for the entire process. Regret number two is not managing the reception time better. I think for a guest, it was a really good experience. One of my biggest things was to make sure that there was no unnecessary waiting time. And so no matter what you're gonna do, you're gonna have some kind of block of time between the ceremony and the reception. Specifically, we actually didn't go to a further away location because I didn't wanna keep people waiting. So I purposefully chose not to go to this like scenic valley that a lot of people go to, because I didn't wanna keep people waiting long. That was a huge priority for me. But for the reception itself, I was so excited after, so this is after like all the dances, first dance stuff, father-daughter dance. This is where like everyone has finished eating dinner, all the speeches have been done, and you're just dancing. Now this section, I actually did miss out on some things. After we had our bite of our cake, I actually didn't get to eat any more of our wedding cake. It was kind of overlooked. There wasn't a slice that was set aside for us. It was given out to the rest of the guests. And we were asked if we wanted like a little cake for our first year anniversary to freeze. I opted out of that because I didn't think it'd keep very well, and I wanted more for the guests anyways because it was a slightly smaller cake. And so I just want to make sure that everyone got some, but it was delicious. It was lemon, and I just wish that I could have eaten a slice of the wedding cake because I just had that first original bite. And then another big area that was overlooked in the reception was I was just dancing all night with my friends, with my family, and I don't think I got to talk to as many people as I know I didn't get to talk to as many people as I wanted to. I was just caught up in the excitement of it all. And also, there was a photo booth at our wedding, and I didn't take any photos in the photo booth. So I just kind of wish that there was someone kind of reminding me of the things there were to do. Like, hey, have you gotten a picture in the photo booth? Hey, have you gotten a slice of your cake? Just kind of someone to manage my time better during the reception, because I was just on cloud nine. I was having the best time. Number three is a very specific one for our circumstances, but I wish that we would have prioritized building a relationship with a pastor leading up to our wedding. Now, the church that we went to, our lead pastor actually stepped down right as we got engaged. And so it was really weird timing, because we would have loved for him to do some premarital counseling with us, but the church was in a weird transition where they didn't have a lead pastor. There was a few thoughts of like who we could use, but it was one of those things where like life circumstances were crazy, and we had a really good friend who said that he's officiated weddings before. So we're like, hey, can you just officiate our wedding? It would mean so much to us. I actually ended up writing a good majority of our ceremony, which I know is very unique, but I'm a writer. I love writing. So it isn't the bride's responsibility to write the ceremony, but it's something I really enjoyed doing. So that was kind of a unique aspect of our wedding. But we did really miss out on premarital counseling. We actually did not do premarital counseling. And so if I could have gone and done it back over again, I definitely would have added premarital counseling to the list. Just, going out of our way to try to make that happen. Even though it wasn't easy, it was something that I think would have been really meaningful. So that was a regret that I have from the day. Our number 4 regret kind of goes back into having a wedding planner. So this goes into family photos. We obviously did get family photos, but I was not super happy with how they turned out. There was actually people in the background of the majority of our family photos, which was a huge bummer for me. It was one of those things that it kind of got lost on whose responsibility is this to rally the troops and get the photo together. I did actually create a list of who I would like in what photo, and the list that I created didn't end up coming on the day. So it was a kind of sad portion of it where I do have family photos, but it's not family photos that I'm in love with. So I would just say to remember that, to think if family photos are a priority to you, to communicate clearly who's going to rally them together, because it is not easy to rally groups of people together. And so someone needs to have that job. It should not go to the bride. She should not be the one who is shouting on her wedding day. It should not go to the mother of the bride, because the mother of the bride is involved in many of the photos and is taking them herself. She shouldn't have to be worried about that either. It should partially go into the photographer just to frame people correctly, but they, depending on your photographer, may not be comfortable with just vocalizing to people who they don't know. And so a wedding planner usually is that personality who's going to get things done, who's going to rally troops, who's going to get everyone in the photos. So I think a wedding planner would have been the correct person to take on that role for the day, but just making sure that your list of the photos that you want is given directly to the wedding planner. They know that they're responsible for that list and that you really want to prioritize those photos. My 5th regret from the wedding day is not taking dance lessons leading up to it. I know that most people do this, but it is totally something that we overlooked. And it was one of those things that just fell really low on the priority list because my husband and I like dancing, and it wasn't something that we really, thought of or were nervous about. We just went up there and did it. But I think it would have been really cute just to have like a few moves down and just to be really comfortable with it. I mean, I practiced with my dad, I practiced with my husband, but I didn't take actually any real dancing lessons. And I think that would have been something really cute. And so that was something totally overlooked in the day. So just depending on how important that is to you, just remember that there may be some awkward time, especially length of your first dance. I feel like that's kind of what it was, is that for the first half of it, it was good. But I mean, without choreography, without lessons, it can get a little bit awkward to be dancing for that long. And that's kind of where we were at. We're like, oh, should we like transition to the next song? It was a little bit of a strange timing for our first dance, but still super sweet, super romantic. That song was really special to us. So I would just maybe do it differently. Okay, now on to the positive side of things. These are the 5 things that I loved most about the choices we made, specifically logistically with our wedding. The very first thing that I want to mention is that we prioritized which vendors were important for us, and we spent the money there appropriately. When you're first starting to wedding plan, just looking at and deciding whether you really want to prioritize having a wedding video, having a wedding planner, having a good venue, if that's important for you, getting a very nice expensive dress, if that's important to you. Just deciding beforehand what elements are most important to you, I think is really, really good. And one thing that we decided for us that was super, super valuable is to have good food. Food is a huge part for your guests to experience. And so that was one thing where I was thinking, I am not gonna have bad food at my wedding. Our catering bill did end up being the most expensive bill of the wedding by far, but it was so worth it. I am so glad that we made the choices we did regarding food, because I think that it really can make or break the day for the guests. The second thing I was super happy about when we were wedding planning is that we chose an off-season month. So we didn't get married in a super crazy month where everyone loves to get married. Specifically, wedding season is going to be spring through summer and maybe early fall. And so we got married outside of that. We got married in October. And by doing so, we had so many vendors available to us. We had so many options when it came to choosing the people we wanted, the firsthand people we wanted, getting the dates we wanted for things, and it just all flowed so nicely. And also when it rolls around to October, it's in such a good timing, specifically for us and our family. We don't have like major birthdays around that date. We don't have any major events. And so for us, it falls really good to have our anniversary timing then, because we are really big travelers. So we usually go on an anniversary trip, and it just really falls all into place all right there. The third thing that I'm super happy that we chose to do for our wedding day is to save the first look for walking down the aisle. This was something that I had always dreamed about, to be the moment of, walking down the aisle towards my future husband. And it was super important for me to keep it special and to do it in that time specifically. But in order to get kind of the cute, posy photos of like the first look without actually having a first look, we did kind of a first touch or a non-first look. And so we had a moment where, after I finished taking the pictures with all of my girls and the guys were coming in to take their photos, we came together, backs up against a tree, and we talked to each other before the ceremony. And that was super crazy special because it just kind of increased the anticipation and made it all so much more exciting. I love that we chose to do that, and it was super special and super right for us. The fourth favorite thing that I chose to do for our wedding is to do kind of a unification ceremony that was unique for us. We hadn't really seen it in any other weddings that we had been to, although people do it. But it is a ceremony where we chose to braid 3 ropes together, and that paired with a verse about Christ being in the center of our relationship was a symbol of us being woven together as one with Christ. So it talks about how a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken in Ecclesiastes. And so that verse was spoken as we braided these ropes, and that piece we actually have in our house right now is something we'll always have. And that braid happened on our wedding day, and so we won't touch it. And I think that was just so special to be able to do that. It was a really unique thing for us, and it held a lot of meaning. Now, my fifth favorite thing that we did for our wedding day was to book a quality DJ who was also an MC. And so there's so much more to a wedding than just having music. There needs to be someone who is getting people, who's one, making announcements for the bridal party and who's getting guests from one location to the other. And especially without a wedding planner to kind of facilitate this transition, it was really important for us to have an MC. So our DJ, and this goes back to, getting married in the off season, for us, it was a really last minute way to book him, and he was able to do our wedding super last minute. We were so grateful for him and so happy that he was able to do it. I'll put all of the vendors that we had for our wedding below so that you can explore any if you are local to the Reno, Tahoe, Carson City area. But he was phenomenal, and the MC abilities that he was able to do, I think really added just, kind of a piece and structure to the day so that everyone knew what to expect and everyone knew where they were going. So I was really happy that we decided to book him because he was so well worth every penny that we spent. And so that is the list of wedding favorites and wedding regrets from my wedding day. There were, of course, so many things that I did not mention, like little details that we absolutely loved. For example, the flowers that were lining our aisle were spider mums, and that was the first flower that Paul ever bought me. So that was super significant for us. Instead of doing a wedding book, we decided to do a wedding globe. We're huge on traveling, have big travel plans, and we're in the process of seeing all 7 world wonders. And so we had all of our guests sign a wedding globe, and that holds a special place in our house today as well. So just all around, I was so happy with how it all turned out. Of course, there are things that I would do differently today, but I think it's just important to realize that, especially if you're, years later looking back at your wedding, just to realize that you made the best choices you could in the time that you had to prepare for a wedding. And although you might be and grow into a different person than the person you were when you got married, and the taste that you had in terms of like venues, photos, wedding dress, food, any of that, all the tastes that you have may evolve over time. But know that your wedding day is so perfect and special because that was the day that you got to be unified with your significant other, and nothing can take away that special fact. So thank you so much for watching this video. I am so excited that you did, and I cannot wait to catch you on the next one.